of racing action. A 40-minute race set to have a whole lot of stuff to worry about if you are these racers. Have to worry about the pit stop. Inside your screen switched his attention to the massive pack of race cars that's going to blow his doors off and blow off the starter stand. The green flag is out. The drivers are on their way. Locked at this race, the grass and the gravel that lines this racetrack. It's old school, so it doesn't have a whole lot of asphalt runoff area. He's a very talented racer of his own. These two fast. They crashed very early on into this race. Look at Danny Wood on a big crash heading through turn number 1. That's chasing that turn number 4. And here we go, side-by-side racing off into the corner. This can usually end in tears. One of these drivers is going to have to back out of it. That's going to be at Gallop. But Maunz still allowing some room coming out of the corner. The side-by-side going up the hill through turn number 6. Spade coming out of the corner. Walker, the Canadian, in the number 96. They are banging doors, heading into the braking time for the final time. They're linked together. That or you put a qualifying fuel load in either way. Getting a whole lot of pressure side by side with himself, and that is
now coming out of the pits. Let's see what his pit lane time is, because this is going to be very important when Yanchi leaves.
I don't know what to say. Oh, there's Red Capricorn upside down. And another driver coming in. That's Jeff Jacobson upside down. Oh, boy. Well, hello and good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back here to Slow Motion Broadcasting, and welcome back to the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors. This is round number 3 of the season, coming to you today from Spa. My name is Ron Maunz. Alongside me in the commentary booth is Joshua Wilkie, and in the virtual production hauler, we have Guido Marzucchi. Josh, we head off to Spa for the 3rd round of this championship, and we said right at the end of that Formula Ford show a few moments ago that it was going to be a draft fest here, and despite the fact we are running on the bike layout, which really just changes turn number 9, it's still going to be a draft fest regardless. This is going to be the hectic race to end all hectic races.
Yeah, I think you're probably right, Ron. The SRFs around here, obviously being a very draft-heavy car, and this being a very draft-heavy track, we're going to see a lot of both of those things today, and as we can even see here in the qualifying session we were talking on the run-up, you know, I've been a part of a lot of these qualifying sessions in the last couple of years, and I can tell you it ain't easy to find a lap out here. As we can see, I believe that is Aid Allen just behind, or is that, sorry, Aleix Pleva just behind Felix Samoes here. And what you're trying to do here is not slow down. You're trying to get as fast as you can, get a draft, not mess the guy up in front of you, and get the fastest lap all at the same time as you're trying to avoid everybody else around you. And it's really difficult, as we can see them going into sort of the bike section of the track here, that I've actually not had a chance to run those quite yet, or this layout quite yet. I'm interested to see how this is going to play out, but as you said there, Ron, regardless of the layout, it's still a very, very heavy draft track, and going into T1 up through Radion and on down the Kemmel Straight is going to be a pretty gnarly first lap, I think, man. So, yeah, this should be pretty wild.
Oh, it is going to be a wild one indeed. Got a beautiful view of that bike section heading off through turn number 9. That section, for the longest time, it's been called No Name. It does have a corner now, and it's called Speaker's Corner, but I guess with that bike configuration, can we really say it's the same corner? Because it is not. It's just the same area of the racetrack, so oh no, we'll call it Yapper's Corner instead of Speaker's Corner, going for a bit more of the Gen Z slang there. But anyways, before I start rattling off any more Gen Z slang and we're just not going to touch that. I think we'll do I would say quick. It's a very long lap around here, but we're going to do an onboard lap with the sponsor of today's broadcast here from the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors. That is Eric, Luke, and Clo Valve Company. More about them in a couple of moments' time. Here's the lap. Eric Luke heading his way down the start-finish straightaway off until the source of turn number 1. Obviously, going to be a huge overtaking opportunity in this race, and I think he may have just allowed someone to overtake him as he goes off the track down into the corner, taking a quick trip through the gravel trap. This is not the ideal line heading off through turn number 1. One of the big changes with this new version of Spa, of course, is the fact we have that up-to-date gravel trap. It used to be just a massive bit of asphalt runoff area. This section used to feel like an alleyway. This is the old pit straightaway. You can see the old pits there right on the right-hand side, heading off into one of the most iconic sections of racetrack in the world. This is Eau Rouge and Radion. Obviously, Eric Luke would want to carry a bit more speed through here a little bit later on in this qualifying session, but through Eau Rouge and Radion, the bottom end of that section is Eau Rouge. The top end is Radion. If I see anyone reference, and that's Radion actually, in the YouTube chat, I will actually scream. This is the Camel straightaway, where if you get a bad run heading through the first few corners, you are going to be in for a world of trouble. We're seeing it from Luke. Not carrying a lot of speed on this lap, but that run down there, one of the longest flat out blasts we'll be visiting all season long, leads into one of the best overtaking opportunities. So Lacombe chicane, that's turn number 5 and 6 right there, coming out of turn number 7, down the hill off into the hairpin, turn number 8 of Ravage. This section, very hard to try and nail down. It's slightly off camber. Oh boy, worst time to get a hiccup. It's slightly off camber. You're going downhill as well, and you don't have a lot of time to get yourself set up into turn number 9, Yapper's Corner, as I like to call it. You can see that slight bit of elevation change dipping down into the asphalt coming out of that corner. Now back onto the regular layout. This is Puan, turn number 10, off into 11 right now. In a Formula 1 car, you'd be able to go through that section pretty much flat out. In the Spec Racer Fords, not so much. This section, certainly gonna have to break into. This is fun of turn at number 12 and 13. These quarters, despite the fact they look very similar on paper, they drive incredibly differently. Turn 13, that's super tough. Believe me, I've run wide heading through there on many occasions. This here is the bottom end of the circuit through turn number 14 and 15 right now. I've seen a driver nearly flip off into that gravel trap in the past. That's going to be a real danger zone for these drivers. But before we talk about any more songs from Kenny Loggins, let's head through this back flat out blast. This is one of the longest flat out blasts of this season, but it is broken up slightly with turn number 17 of Blanchimont. Here, slight lift there from Eric Luke in the draft of the 333 car right in front of him, and now heading off into the bus stop chicane. No longer the bus stop, but we'll just call it the chicane. You have to give it a little bit of a chicken's head, the brakes, heading into that chicane section, and then heading your way out of that corner with that small little flat out blast down into the corner, and that will complete a lap here of Spa. Very long lap in the Spec Racer Ford. So Josh, I will let you get a word in edgewise.
Yeah, that's a bit of a long one here, is it not? But an amazing lap as well. You know, as you're talking about that, I'm thinking the bike layout and then picturing myself trying to go up through Eau Rouge Radion on a motorcycle at nearly 180 miles an hour. Sounds like one of the scariest things I can think of. I can't imagine racing around here on a motorcycle. That is absolutely wild. And I believe that they actually are going to be doing some bike races around here if they have not already. And what a wild concept that is. But yeah, we're seeing here, you know, jockeying back and forth, trying to find that draft. You simply cannot be on the top of the field here unless you get a good draft. You have to get a draft, or you're just not even going to be maybe even the top 10, 12. You'll be way in the back if you don't get a draft. There is probably 2, 3, 4 seconds to be made up or something around here if you were to get the optimal draft everywhere that it's possible to do it. So, man, it's going to be really important. You got to find a draft buddy out there or force someone into a draft buddy. And it ain't easy, man. It's not an easy one out there to jockey around for qualifying, and it's pretty important too. You know, being mid-pack or back-pack here, it's going to be wild, man, with this many cars on the first lap. So, pretty wild stuff, and not an easy qualifying session at all.
And as we're still in this qualifying session with about 2 minutes left to go on the clock, we're going to briefly run through the championship point situation with only 2 races on the board. Lebanon and Magny-Cours finally breaking away from France, albeit we're just moving over to Belgium, so not the biggest swapperoo, but come time for Long Beach in 1 week's time, that's going to be a pretty big change. Here's how it stands in Spec 1. Maurizio Nazelli, your current championship leader, he won at Lebanon. Jason Green slotted in P2. He has yet to grab a win thus far this season, but he did grab that pole at Lebanon. So I guess the first round of this championship really telling us how these drivers are going to be doing. Felix Samoas, after the win last time out of Magny-Cours, a somewhat disappointing run at Lebanon, finds himself in third. Rasmus Vori, off the back of a win earlier on in the Formula Fords, enters this Spec Racer Ford race in fourth, with Kane Halliburton running at the top 5 in the Spec 1 point standings. Pretty close there in that Spec 1 class. Here's how it looks in Spec 2, and it's even closer. Matt Thompson, who's a staple of the Ray Esports Club Racing League, which for one last time you'll be able to catch this upcoming Wednesday here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. He's your current championship leader at 112 points. Aid Allen slipped into second. Joshua Flores rounding out the top 3, only 1 point between second and third, and only 4 points separating third and first. So really speaks volumes about how close it is at the moment. Eric Luke, our sponsor for today's broadcast, is in fourth, and Andrew Love rounding out the top 5 in Spec 2. Gonna take a brief look over to the Masters class, touch on the top 5, where it's currently being occupied by Kurt Nunez, Tom Gradwell, Joseph Tarantino, Brad Cathcart, and Jeff Fritcher. For the first time in about a year, Jorg Monty is not in the top 5 in the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors points. Remember when I first got started on these Weekend Warriors broadcasts, he would constantly be getting struck by falling anvils. So it did not happen to him during Season 1, but it hasn't been too consistent of a force thus far here in Season 2. But at the end of this qualifying session now, the checkered flag now out, and Nazelli, your current championship points leaders, on the provisional pole.
Yep, Nazelli out front again. Samoa's right behind him, and then Jason Green. So, and then Pleva. So we do have actually, and then Manny as well. So we have a, kind of usual cast of characters there up at the front at the moment. Trenton Kramer kind of just lurking back there in 8th as well. We know he's always very pointy. Kane Lasky as well. Sometimes can make his way up there. This is one of those tracks where, you can be in 10th place, 11th place or something on the first lap, and you could find yourself right up front by the end of the first lap, or vice versa. You could end up, and being first and end up way at the back of the pack on the first lap too. The draft is really powerful around here. If you make a mistake on the first lap, obviously everybody's so tight that you get passed by everyone, and it's going to be really, really important to make sure you kind of execute T1, you execute Eau Rouge and Radion, and then the rest of the lap actually as well. Once you get down the Kemmel Straight, it ain't easy coming through this chicane here with that many cars, and there's going to be a lot of people wanting to get by other people, and it's going to be about surviving out there, as we see Kramer getting a little bit of a moment there into the wall. Jump on board with Jason Green here. You can see all of that debris on the outside of the track as well, something we haven't quite mentioned yet. There is gravel around here, man, and we're probably going to pull some on the track. We saw the last FF race there where I'm pretty sure that was kind of rearing its head. We were seeing people spinning all over the place, and I think a lot of that had to do with some of that debris on the outside of the track and so on. So we'll have to keep an eye on that here as well, as we're just kind of closing up the qualifying session here. I think Jason Green may be able to get one more lap in here. See if he can't improve. Looks like he's greened all 3 sectors here, so he's doing some personal bests. See if he can get across the line, maybe improve a little bit. And will he improve? No, he won't improve position at least. So Jason Green third. That's going to end the qualifying session for now, and we'll move on to the race here shortly.
Yeah, I think just have one or two more drivers left to cross the line at the end of this qualifying session, but nevertheless, it's going to be Maurizio Nazelli winding up on the pole position. You can see some more drivers out there on the racetrack. Jason Green, Elias Pleva, Joao Tobino, Flavio Andallo, Kane Lasky, Rasmus Vori, Kurt Nunez, Adam Bradshaw, Phil Berry, Paul Jackson, and Andre Favini still out there on the racetrack. Getting some lap times on the board, at least for most of them. Andre Favini, not saying a lap time, as he occasionally does here in the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors. A very fast driver I've experienced commentating wins on in the past. The 27 car doesn't really decide to set some lap times here, so he's giving himself just a slight bit of a challenge here in these Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors races. But as I take a quick little break to catch my breath here, about to reach the end of this qualifying session, still ticking the clock away. Rasmus Vori still out there on the track, currently slotted in P13. I mean, based off the fact he went from P7, I believe, on the starting grid to P1 in that Formula Ford race earlier on, I can't necessarily rule out him making a big comeback here in this Spec Racer Ford race that we have coming up soon. I gotta say, absolutely awesome schedule to look forward to here for the SRFs, Lebanon on Magny-Cours and Spa. Already races that we've had or races that we're about to have in the case of Spa. Next up, we're going to have Long Beach, and then going from Long Beach to Okayama, then from Okayama to Donington Park, Red Bull Ring, which will play host to the next Formula Ford Weekend Warriors race, will be the site of round number 7. Round number 7? Yes, round number 7 of the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors here this year. It took me long enough, and that'll actually kick off our month of May coverage here on SMB, which has a lot of stuff to look forward to. And then Bathurst, the Hungara Ring, the old Phoenix Legacy Road Course with asphalt about as patchy as my face when I was 14 will play host to the 10th round of the season. And then Silverstone and Oschersleben bringing this season to a conclusion. But we got a lot of drivers to go through, and because we have a short pace lap, let's get that starting grid loaded up right now. Maritza Nazelli will start from the pole. Felix Samoa is alongside in P2. We have Jason Green starting in third. Elise Pleva in fourth. York Monty, your highest qualifying Masters driver, will start in overall P5. Joao Tabino in sixth. Eric Luke in seventh. Eric Luke, the sponsor of today's broadcast here on SMB, and also your Spec 2 pole sitter. Starting in P8, rounding out your fourth row is going to be Trent Kramer. Joachim Mosbeck, the Swede, will start in ninth. Starting in 10th, we are going to have Flavio Andallo. Right behind them is going to be Kane Lasky and Ada Allen. That rounds out your first 6 rows on the starting grid. And looking right behind them, continuing on with this field in P13, we are going to have Rasmus Vori. Leonard Geese will start in 14th. Jeff Fritzscher will start in P15. Mario Kremser in 16th. Matt Thompson in 17th. Paolo Brema will start in 18th. Tom Gradwell in the 909 car and Kurt Nunes in the 918 going to make an all-Masters Road 10. Michael Nelson, the Dane, in 21st. Adam Thompson, SMB's very own meowing artist, will start in 22nd. Scott Russell in the 22 car will start in 23rd. We have Daniel Case starting in P24. Starting in 25th will be Claudio Gradini. In P26 is the 905 of Brad Cathcart. Jason Perry in 27th. Dan Witzak in P28. We have Adam Bradshaw starting this race in 29th. Daniel Salmon rounding out the top 30. Russell Telker in 31st. Andrew Love in 32nd. Not just say Russell Telker was starting in 22nd. No, he's starting in 32nd. Andrew Love in 33rd. Phil Berry in just say Love was starting in 33rd. Love in 32nd. Phil Berry in 33rd. After 30 drivers, my brain finally snapped. In 34th is going to be Paul Jackson, Joseph Tarantino in P35, Jim Brewster in 36th. Looking through the rest of the drivers that we have in this very big starting grid for the third round of the championship, we have Ian Gibson in 37th, Chris Murakami in 38th, Stevie Ray in 39th, Parvin Ladar in 40th. Fozzie Fazilo will start this race in 41st. That's an absolutely fantastic, best name ever indeed. He's going to be starting in 41st next to Michelle Vaglini in 42nd, Jeff Webker in 43rd, Andre Favini in 44th, Joshua Flores in 45th, Domenico Massi will start in 46th, and rounding out your 47 car grid, we have Keith McDougall. Those are your starters at the beginning of this race, and Josh, it's going to be a good one.
Yeah, that was quite the grid. Good job there, Ron, for sure. It's easy to get messed up, and 47 cars on the grid today. Unbelievable field. Really wish I was out there. This is going to be a wild one here. Even the formation lap, I'm a little worried about. There's so many cars here. As we were mentioning, on the run-up, we have to keep an eye here because some of these drivers on the tail of this field are actually going to be starting the race in the bus stop. And man, I can tell you, the people that, whether they know it or not, the ones that do know it, that are like, okay, I'm going to have to start this race in the bus stop, you really don't kind of know what to do. You sort of have to react around the people around you. Somebody's going to maybe try to pass you like on the start, and it can just be a real mess up there. So we'll be keeping an eye on that, make sure, hopefully, that we can get through that bus stop clean and get a clean start here. But it ain't over there either yet, Ron. You got to go into the hairpin after that and then up through Radion and Eau Rouge, and it is going to be wild with 46 cars out there. I can tell you from experience that being in the middle of the pack, going through those corners, it's fun, but it's nerve-wracking, and you can definitely end your race pretty quick, and we're about to get her started here as we get through the bus stop, Ron.
This field exiting that bus stop chicane. The field now in the hands of our pole sitter of Maurizio Nazelli. He's going to look to try and grab yet another win this season and try and stake his claim on that championship lead. The green flag is out, and the drivers are on their way, and they wasted no time to already make a 3-wide hang down that start-finish straightaway off into La Source of turn number 1. You can see the field breaking up in that strand. Kramer in the 20 going off. He's spinning wildly off the circuit into the grass. Got to try and get spun around in the right direction, having to pull off a 3-point turn. That, I believe, was Jason Perry with damage in the Spider-Man number 97 car off into turn number 1. I think you raised a very good point there, Josh, talking about that bus stop chicane for the drivers a little bit farther in the back, and I have a feeling that Jason Perry got called out by that very early on. But exiting Eau Rouge and Radion onto the Camel straightaway for the first time, and these drivers meet it side by side and nearly even 3 wide as well. Look at Jason Green splitting the difference in that 160 car. He's going to shuffle Nazelli back. He's still got Felix Samoas, his championship rival from 1 season ago, on the outside line, and Jason Green going to win out the first game of Leapfrog down the Camel straightaway to take the race lead.
Wow, what an opening lap there. That just wall of SRFs coming down the Camel Straight is a beautiful sight. I absolutely love to see that many weekend warriors out here racing on a Sunday afternoon here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. Some pretty awesome stuff. Just looking back in the back, Salmon trying to go up the inside of Cathcart there at the bottom of your screen. Looks like maybe he thought a little bit better of that and didn't get into it, but that's the kind of stuff that's going to cause a big pileup, as we see in the background. A big one. We got hoods popping up in the air. We are wrecking race cars, Ron.
Big crash coming through the bike section. That's going to be a pileup. More cars stacking into it. Bradshaw with a huge hit into the Armco. Body parts flying all over. I'm not just talking about the ones on these race cars. That was a huge hit. More cars coming to blows. I think someone popped a motor heading through that motorcycle section. That's a point to raise talking about that section of the racetrack. It's only been something that was added into Spa very recently when they did the reconfiguration and renovations to this circuit some years ago. Added in that bike section. It's something that doesn't come naturally to these iRacers. They usually think of the normal run heading down into Speaker's Corner off into turn 9, not the Yapper's Corner as I like to coin it earlier on this broadcast, but nevertheless a big crash heading through that section. May have to load up replay at the end of this first lap, but we're getting to it right now, and it's Jason Green leading his way through Blanchemont. He is your current leader of this race overall. Looking at some of the other drivers in some of the other classes that we have, Eric Luke is your leader in Spec 2. Meanwhile, in the Masters category, Jeff Fritcher currently leads and is currently in a side-by-side fight with himself in the 666 of 8 Allen. But Jason Green, coming out of that final chicane, is going to lead this first lap. He was involved in the battle for the win at this exact same race 1 season ago. He's a quick driver. So is Nazelli. So is Sampoez. We got a lot of heavy hitters in this field, and the winner of this race 1 season ago is currently slotted in 5th, that being Elias Pleva.
Yeah, 5th place is definitely, not a bad place to be right now. You can definitely still make that time up. I can tell you the place that's going to be the most sweaty right now is the 160 of Jason Green there in 1st place. Not an easy place to be. You have a giant bullseye on your back right now, and there's basically no way you can stay there. You're not going to stay there till the end of the race. You just can't, and he's going to get passed by a bunch of people here. He knows it. It's totally fine. I wouldn't be surprised, actually, if even maybe Pleva ends up getting by him here from 5th place. That's how strong the draft is around here, as we can see the great shot off the left side of his rig there. And so he got definitely hauled by at least 2 drivers there. The draft around here is crazy, and it's going to be back and forth like that the whole time. You have to play this push-pull game with the drivers around you. You have to play ball, or else you're just going to end up with a bigger pack and more problems on your hands. So we'll see how it plays out here. We'll see if these guys can play ball with each other. We have a really good group of characters up front here who know how to play ball in these cars. So I'm expecting that we're going to see, some shuffling of positions and stuff. And, if they do it, if they play their cards just right, they might be able to pull away from the pack. If they don't, we'll have a giant list of race cars here to deal with as we're going to check this replay out, Ron.
And we're going to take out the moment involving Joachim Osbeck. We're going to follow his perspective and all that. Getting hit multiple times coming out of that bike section. More drivers coming to blows. Look at that, the huge hit for Bradshaw. All the front clips of these race cars popping off like misshapen Legos. That's not over yet. Pow! That right there, I believe, was Joseph Tarantino coming in for the last second kill. Nowhere to go. That was just an
Yeah, it was
ugly incident, no matter how you slice it, coming through that turn at number 9 section. I was just going to raise one thing when talking about Jason Green kind of letting these drivers go. Jason Green is usually one of the most patient drivers here in the Weekend Warriors world. That's part of the reason why in the YouTube chat of this broadcast here on Slow Motion Broadcasting today, most people have him slotted as the winner, currently at 44% in terms of in terms of viewers thinking that he is going to be the winner at the end of this race. And considering that I clicked on Green as well, I can't necessarily blame them. But that's a move from Nazelli heading down into the chicane.
Ooh.
That's going to be short-lived. I don't really like that move from Nazelli. Actually, no, I say that. I like that move if it was on the final lap. At this stage of the race, though, you're just going to find yourself getting jumped back around, heading through the couple straightaways. That's a moment for Stevie Ray. That's coming out of turn at number 8, losing it, hitting the wall, and deciding to call it a day.
Yeah, that was a big one there. So easy to do in the first opening laps in these cars. You know, since we had the new update there to the tire model and stuff, you actually do have to warm the tires up now. We're heading into lap 3, so you know the heat's starting to get in there. But I can tell you from experience, it takes, I'd say, 3 to 5 laps for it really to start to grip in, and you can really start leaning on the car. As we see Jason Green and Naselli going too wide here, but looks like probably that's what caught Stevie out. Caught a little bit of the curb, unsettled the car a little bit. And man, you know, it's still the iRacing thing there. When you snap the rear of the car, it's just like all of a sudden there's just nothing, and you just can't recover it. And kind of looks like that's what happened to Stevie, unfortunately there. But yeah, just going back to that crash that we saw as well, it looked, you know, unfortunately, just like nobody could get around the driver there who spun. And yeah, there he is there now. So I believe that was Osbeck there, who had kind of a little spin on his own, maybe a little tap, maybe a little help from somebody. I didn't quite catch that out of the corner of my eye, but very unfortunate. He sort of put himself up as a human roadblock there, unfortunately, and not his fault, but a bunch of cars ran into him. That last car, what a salacious hit, man. That would have hurt.
Yeah, that was in the worst section of the car, too. Hit it at the front, pretty much at the front of the chassis. That's a rather significant whack. Thankful that we're running in the sim and not running in real life. As we see, that's a big moment for, contact being made still. And Russ Telker avoided, you can just see the front clip of that car blowing off, coming out of turn number 1. That, I think, was Chris Murakami that made contact with Michel Viglini. Not 100% sure about that. But either way, contact being made as Viglini spun, heading off through turn number 1 of La Source. In these Spec Racer Fords, where it kind of feels like the rear end is on these race cars, just kind of keep it going in a straight line. It's a rather difficult corner for sure, as Daniel Salmon has had a moment of his own. His car's already looking all torn up, heading down into the Lake Holmes chicane, and simply loses it. I think he decides to call it a day after that.
Yeah, that car's toasted. Time to bring her back to the pit. Probably call her a day. Unfortunately, you know, if you got to bring it back to the pit from that far back on the track, you're just going to be so far back. I mean, I'm not going to say it's not worth it to get out there and race, right? You want to get out and finish the race, but you're going to be pretty far behind. We see Jason Green kind of falling back here, fighting with Lasky and Pleva, 2 drivers that he's been locked in battle with more than a few times. So this should be pretty interesting. Samoa's out front, though. Well, we're going to get a replay here. I believe this is Russell Telker. See if we're going to lose adhesion here. Yeah, a bit of an understeer moment, I think, into there. A little too much speed in, and then the wobble. And he does the panic stop. And is he going to call it? Yeah, looks like Russell called it for the day.
Yeah, and he's completely left the session as well. And sadly, unfortunately for us on this broadcast, no bias at all, Fozzie Fazillo has also left as well. So unfortunately, the man with one of the best names I've ever gotten the chance to commentate on will not be your winner at the end of this race here at Spa. But we got 3 wide battling at the front of the field. Loving Joao Tabino now getting his nose involved in all this racing as well. He's going to get that move done to slip his way up into the race lead, up 5 spots from where he started at the drop of the green flag. The Brazilian behind the wheel, the number 50 machine, finds himself at the front. Nazelli slotted into second. Felix Samoas, Alaise Pleva, and Kane Lasky rounding out your top 5 as it stands at the present moment. You can see Lasky there in one of the most striking liveries on this grid, the Flower Power car. And here's a car that's rather different, but it is the sponsor of today's broadcast here on Slow Motion Broadcasting, the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors. That is Eric Luke in the Clow Valve Company car. So we'll We'd like to thank him for making this broadcast possible today here on SMB and wish him well as he's currently leading in the Spec 2 category. Here's your leader in Masters. It's Jeff Fritzscher behind the wheel of the 943 car. Has a bit of a gap between himself and Jörg Motti. He was the janitor throughout Season 1 of 2025, just cleaning the floor with everybody. Hasn't really been the case thus far this season. Not in the top 5, albeit we're only 2 races into the season, so kind of stands to reason because he has missed out on some races, but not in the top 5 in points, which is rather rare for him, and currently running 12th at the moment, which isn't the worst position in the world, but I'm sure he'd want that Masters trophy at the end of today.
Yeah, absolutely. You're definitely looking for, and out here, even being that far back with the draft around here and stuff, and how much race we have left, you can find him up near the front here by the end, I think, if Jörg can kind of put it together. Not too much of a gap between everybody here, as we're seeing getting a little bit racy here up at the front with Sabino and Naselli. Are they going to sort it out? Yeah, looks like they're going to go back single file here through the chicane. Not a place you want to go too wide through here. It's off camber. There's bumps on either side. It's just a really good place to kind of get crowded, hit something, and end up spinning. So you usually want to try to sort it out before you get there, or at least into the entry of it. And even then, if I could, if I had a buck for every time I spawned trying to pass somebody in there from a little tap from them not giving me room, or vice versa for that matter, me just having a skill issue, I'd probably have about 20 bucks, let's be real, but that's 20 times I lost it in that corner, and it's not very much fun as we're seeing looking pretty junk there on the inside, the 278. I'm not sure who that is quite yet. That's Mario Kresmer, I believe, and it's looking like he's doing his best to try to stay out of the way there, but definitely needs to be pulling into the pit with that kind of damage. You're not going to be able to, you're just going to lose more time staying out there. You need to get that thing into the pit, get her fixed up.
Yeah, as much as that would sell for about $16,000 on the streets of Philadelphia, you don't want to be running around here because that is not going to help you out at all. That hoopty rod of a vehicle heading his way off through Erosion Radio, and you can just see the pace differential there as well. Really should be pulling into the pits is Kremser, but let's wait and see if he will. Currently finds himself in 27th, rapidly dropping down the running order. As is Trenton Kramer had a really rough start. He finds himself in a side-by-side fight with himself and Chris Murakami a little bit farther in the back as Felix Samoas gets a move done to jump his way up into the race lead. Felix Samoas, the reigning champion here in the Spec Race Ford Weekend Warriors, assuming a spot that he will probably assume throughout a decent chunk of this season at the north end of the field.
Yeah, I'm just watching here through, just some of the driving that's going on here, and I think I'm going to predict that Pleva is going to be right up front. I think maybe he might even be able to take this one at the end of it. I know he's been pushing around back there for a while trying to get some wins. I believe he did recently get a win, did he not? You might have to correct me on that one, Ron. You're a little better with the stats here, but I think I'm going to put a bit of weight on him. I kind of picked JG in the beginning there for it. Not really sure, though. You're going to need a lot of aggression around here to get this done. You're going to need to make sure that you're going to have to move people a little bit, maybe, You're going to have to get in there and show your nose a little, not move them as in actually make contact, but you're going to have to get a little bit aggressive and stuff. And that's not something we see JG do very often, whereas Pleva really likes to get his nose in there, and I think maybe he's the one I have earmarked here, I think. I'm keeping my eye on him.
Yeah, Lace Pleva is a very fast but aggressive driver here in the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors, and as much as that, oh, look at that, down into the chicane, trying to get that move done. I think I just got myself a noise complaint there, heading down into the chicane, trying to get that move done on the Zelly. That was perfect timing for me to mention that he's an aggressive racer. I think I just scared the crap out of everybody in the house. I was just going to mention that he's an aggressive driver. You just saw it proved there a couple of moments ago with that attempt to maneuver down into the bus stop chicane. I was at a loss I didn't even know what I was seeing when he went for that dive. But Lace Pleva, he has yet to grab a win thus far this season, but he grabbed 3 wins during last season, including one of them being here at Spa, and his last coming in the third to last round of the championship at VIR. So he's a quick driver here in these Spec Racer Fords. As much as his aggression may get the better of him from time to time, he's fast, and I feel like in a race like this, where it's going to be an aggression game, Pleva, he's a driver that we absolutely have to consider for the win.
Yeah, absolutely. The reason I've kind of got him earmarked here is because he usually is really, really pointy, and I can see that he's kind of being a little bit subdued at the moment, and I'm assuming that's because he's holding one in the chamber for later on. But we're going to move back in the pack a little bit here, having a look at Leonard Geese here in 13th place. I believe we have Kurt Nunez right behind him. Little pack of cars racing here with Adam Thompson kind of bringing up the rear here. We're going to see all kinds of little packs like this all over the place. Leonard Geese currently sitting in third place in the S2 category, with Kurt Nunez in third place in the Masters category just behind him. And then we have Adam Thompson in S1. So, another one of the things of these league is pretty interesting stuff where you have, the dichotomy like this of 3 different classes racing each other, but also racing for position. Something I've always actually really enjoyed about this league is, sometimes it's really kind of a double-edged sword depending on which side of it you're on, but it is something you have to kind of mentally sort of prepare for. And if somebody's around you and they're in S2 and they're hounding you, you just have to deal with it. It's just what it is. You got to deal with it. And I actually really like that about this league, that you sort of have to learn to sort of have respect for everybody in all the different classes, no matter what. And I think that helps promote, some better driving and stuff by the end of the league. Although, man, I can tell you, I've been a few times. I'm an S1 and I'm an S2 guy, and it can get under your skin a little bit. Sometimes you're like, come on, I'm trying to catch the guy in front of me. You're not even in the same class, but that's just what you got to deal with out there.
And Josh, as a champion of the Spec 2 category as well, you can really attest to both sides of that, as we nearly have a round of bumper cars down into the chicane. Nazelli gets moved on Samoa's, and Joao Tabino nearly gave Samoa's a bit of a checkup heading down into the corner. That's going to nearly end in tears. It does not, though, as Nazelli still out there on the track, as is Samoa's, as is Tabino, as is Plevet, Lasky, and Green, and Rasmus Fury, who can see there a little bit farther in the back of shot. Here's your Masters leader. It's Jeff Fritcher. So is a big gap between himself and Jörg Monty. You can just barely see Monty in the back of shot there. I say just barely. You can definitely see him in the camera angle, but probably not the race that Monty would have in mind. He's a racer. He wants to go for the win at all costs, and certainly going to be trying to find his way in front of Jeff Fritcher between now and the checkered flag, as we go back up to the front of the field, and these drivers are just patiently battling like a bunch of sardines in the same can. Tabino trying to get that move done down into the Lacombe chicane. Samoa's side by side with Nazelli, Lasky, Pleva. Lots of these drivers still battling hard. They battle as if it's the final lap every single lap, which it is great for us in the commentary booth, but for these drivers, they probably have slightly higher blood pressure than they would have wanted.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point, Ron. We're looking at Tarantino here, looking a bit rough there. He's missing a couple pieces of the race car there. I'm not really sure that's going to help with aerodynamics. You think, these things are basically a box in the air anyway. I would imagine a lot of air gets up underneath them. They're not all that aerodynamic, but that's going to hurt you in the front for sure. That's going to hurt your aerodynamics. I'd like to just mention there as well, we have, or just quickly there, I believe it was Jeff Fritcher. We haven't seen Jeff Fritcher in the series in a while, so big shout out to him for coming back for this one. I don't think we've seen him too often, so great to have him back here with a really big field today racing. Awesome to see so many drivers out there.
Yeah, he's a pretty fast driver. Didn't grab a win last season, but keeping our eyes on him at the moment, as he is still your leader in Spec. Not Spec 2 in Masters.
Spec
We were just following your Spec Masters. There we go. SM.
There you go.
Actually, we could lump that in with some Spec Miata cars. That would be a fun weekend Warrior Series. Holy cow, you can catch some. Actually, you can't catch it anymore because they already wrapped up their season. But the Ray Esports Club Racing League, which you can catch on Wednesdays, that's some Spec Miata action earlier on in the season. Still got the Spec Racer Fords and Formula Vs running this upcoming Wednesday, though. So stay tuned here to SMB to catch all of that action. And unless you're watching this broadcast months farther down the line, in which you can just completely ignore everything I said, except for the fact that you should probably subscribe here to SMB, as that's Samoa's making that call to pit. It's important for these drivers to nail down that strategy. These pit stops are important in these races, and they are necessary. Samoa's the first to dive into pit lane.
Yeah, that's that's another, the pit lane here is actually a little scary. It's every time I've raced here, these cars, it's not quite so bad because they're a little smaller, but yeah, it's a bit of a scary one. You really have to kind of jank out of that corner. It all just feels kind of abrupt and violent when you're kind of getting into that. And you can definitely make a mistake in there. I'm sure we have all seen the iRacing footage of somebody spinning getting caught between the two walls there, and then nobody else can get into the pit lane. And fortunately, I can actually say that I've never done that. I'm not quite that derpy, quite yet, at least anyway, and I haven't quite done that, but I certainly have bumped that outside wall and wrecked a car as I'm coming in for the pit as we're going too wide here again. This is just going to happen every lap, I think, and we still have Pleva and Lasky there, that I think are just biding their time, just kind of waiting to see sort of what happens. They know these guys in the front. Naselli has speed. If I had to put a finger on it, Naselli probably over one lap by himself with no draft might be one of the faster guys out here, but it's not going to matter so much with this draft today. And as we can see, another pack of cars here, still same one we were talking about earlier there. Nobody has changed position here yet, so maybe we got the same situation kind of going on here. They're trying to catch people in front of them, I would imagine, and it looks like they're succeeding at that, actually. They've gotten a little closer to the car in front of them. And there we have, I believe this is Felix Amos coming out after his pit stop there. So successful pit stop for Felix. We'll have to see where this all shuffles out here shortly.
And I wonder if Felix Samoa's call to pit is going to kind of spark a bit of a trend for these drivers at the north end of the field. Will they try and shadow that call, or are they all just going to stick to their own memo? Regardless, have a feeling that we're going to have another heart pumper of a finish here for the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors. Your current race leader is Joao Tabino, Alaise Pleva slotted in P2, Maurizio Nazelli running at your overall podium. Eric, Luke, and Aid Allen are running P1 and P2 in the Spec 2 category. Luke, your current leader there. And Jörg Mani, in all of that drama, has been able to jump his way up into the race lead, as I believe Jeff Fritcher made the call to come into the pit. That, or he got struck by a falling anvil. I'll look to double check to see whether or not he has come down pit lane.
He did go in the pit.
And yes, he has.
Yep, yeah, we caught a quick shot of him there, just briefly there of him coming down pit lane. Yep, yeah, he was in there for a bit, I think. Oh, yeah, what was the pit time on Fritcher there?
56.15 seconds. 56.15 seconds was the amount of time that he spent, not even down pit lane, down in the pit stall. He spent a minute and a half down pit lane as in its entirety. So definitely took some tires. These tires are not necessary to take in these Weekend Warriors races. So that's going to sting for Fritcher. He was on track for a good win, but one driver who's going to appreciate that news is going to be Jörg Mani, who now finds himself leading the Masters class.
Yeah, unfortunate again. I'm wondering again if that's another oops, I forgot to uncheck the tires moments. And yeah, it's unfortunate. I've had people tell me, oh, you can actually set it in the INI file so that your tires aren't checked. And yeah, but then when I do a race where I need my tires, I forget them, and then I don't get tires. So it's a bit of a double-edged sword on that one. It's something you just have to try to remember. And I'm guessing there that Fritcher probably forgot to do is we're seeing a little bit of bump drafting there by the looks of it, or darn close to it anyway from Lasky. Things are getting a little bit more froggy at the front here as we're just past the halfway mark through the race. I'm wondering when we're going to see some more people dip into the pit here. And like I was mentioning, this pit stop or this pit entrance is not an easy one, and for that matter the pit exit is also a little bit sketchy depending on how and where you come out. So this whole pit cycle, man, is going to be a little bit stressful for everybody. Seems like something easy, just as the onlooker. Maybe if you're not fully into racing or versed in racing, pit stop just seems like, hey, you just drive the car in and stop and go. And it's got to be one of the more scary things out there. I can practice all week long, and one of the more sort of intimidating parts of every race is getting that pit stop done. And we can see, something as simple as forgetting to uncheck your tires, you're done, man. That's it. It's over.
And one more thing to raise, talking about the pit stops here in the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors series, is the fact that these cars do not have a pit limiter. Most cars on iRacing, you just click a button, mash the throttle pedal down, and no matter what happens, you will always be on the pit lane speed limit. Here in these Spec Racer Fords, though, you don't. You have to do that the old-fashioned way, modulate that brake pedal. It's like maintaining a speed limit out there on the road, but you have to do it out there on a racetrack with an intense amount of pressure in a situation where you're battling for championship aspirations, battling for championship points, and battling for positions out there on the racetrack, with your competitors blowing your doors off as they stay out there on the racetrack. That was a nice move from Joao Tabino to slip his way in front of Maurizio Nazelli. Alaise Pleva and Jason Green still involved in all this. Rasmus Vori dropping down a little bit. You can still see him there in the back of shot, but well done to Vori. He's put on a very good race, but we have another chunk of drivers coming down to the pits. That's Tabino and Nazelli coming in together.
Yeah, and I think I mashed both their names together there, but they both jumped into the pits there. I was just looking quickly. Let's get through this here, see what happened to Jeff Wubker, and then I'll get back to that point. It looks like maybe we're going to have a little grip loss happening. Yeah, man. So he's just trying to gather it up for a full 3 seconds there, 4 seconds, 5 seconds. Ugh, God, I mean, you really don't like that feeling in the car. It's just, you feel like you start to lose it and you're like, okay, I'm going to catch it, no problem. And then it's like, no, and then before you know it, you're sideways. And he was able to just kind of catch it there and then keep going straight, but unfortunately lost a bunch of time. Just looking at the points or positions gained here, Favini, 39 positions. That is wild. I saw another couple there too. I think it just changed probably because we're going into pit cycle, but Jason Perry was 17, but 39 positions, Ron. That's a record, I think.
Yeah, Andre Favini did not come into the he has not come into the pits yet, and did not set a time in that qualifying session earlier on. But nevertheless,
that's still a lot. Yeah,
it's still insanity from Andre Favini. 26 spots gained ever since the drop of the green flag in the first 25 and a half minutes. So well done to him, and well done as well to Chris Murakami. Chris is a quick driver in these Spec Racer Fords. He's been around the block in the Weekend Warriors world before, and won a couple of races during the last season as well. So we always like to keep tabs on the driver of the 901 car. Finds himself in P17 at the moment, actually P2 of the Masters competitors as a result of all the drama that has befallen these competitors thus far. But we are now 26 minutes into this 40-minute long race, still waiting pit stops from the front drivers. The highest driver yet to come into the pits, we're talking about highest position, that is. I'm not sure about the legality for some of these drivers in whatever country they're racing from, is Felix Samoa's running in 6th.
Yeah, it looks like he's back out here, so some pit stops kind of starting to shake out here. I don't think we've had everybody in yet, but kind of the same cast of characters here out front so far. We shall see exactly how this shakes out pretty shortly here, I think, with the front pack probably going to be diving in here soon. But yeah, it looks like we have a few packs. Things have kind of spread out around the track here. Looks like we got, near Claudio Gardini. There's a little bit going on back in the pack with the Masters guys. Jim Brewster, Tom Gradwell, Brad Cathcart, looking like they're fairly close together. And there they go into the pit. So we've dipped into the pit here with the lead group. We'll see how this plays out. You can see at the bottom of your screen there, we have our pit times if you want to check that out. And we'll see exactly who goes where they shake out, and where Felix Samoas lands in that whole schmozzle.
No party like a pit stop party. I've seen that in a fortune cookie before. Andre Favini going to join those drivers into the pits. Felix Samoas and Nazelli, they've already made that call. How's this going to work out with these drivers? Rasmus Fiori on pit exit already. That's going to be a jump of a lifetime from him. Let's see if he can jump in front of all of these racers. I think Rasmus Fiori will. He's got to jump in front of the likes of Green, Tabino, and Lasky, but it's still going to be a side-by-side fight to try and take the race lead. Look at this. It's going to be a drag race heading down this long flat out blast through Rouge and Radion side by side. I'm not sure if this is a smart strategy in the world, but these drivers still going to risk it. Oh, Vori backing out of it, understandably so. Samoas and Nazelli slipping their way up into P1 and P2. Jason Green finds himself in 4th at the present moment. He may jump in front of these racers soon. There's Nazelli trying to get that move done on Samoas. The game of leapfrog still very much on. Heading down this Kemmel straightaway off into Lake Calm. Nazelli, he's going to be on the outside. Samoas will be on the inside, and Samoa is understandably going to back out of it and slot in tow. Meanwhile, Kane Lasky and Joao Tabino right behind those racers. We're going side by side with Kane Lasky jumping his way to 5th.
Yeah, there's a bit of jockeying for position there, back and forth. So we got a pretty good pit stop rotation out of everyone there, and they kind of slotted back in. Few positions changed there, but really at the end of the day, going up the inside of Lasky. Nice move to stay off each other there. That was some great driving. Excellent pass right there. Maybe not the fastest way to do that pass. They're definitely going to lose a little bit of time doing that to the group in front, but pretty spectacular pass nonetheless. We like to see those, even if they are a bit slow for them. And it looks like, Pleva kind of back there now as well, so losing touch a little bit with that front group. We shall see how it plays out here. We've still got a lot of draft. We've still got just over 10 minutes left here. Pretty interesting stuff. And that pit stop cycle, I'm surprised actually at how well it all shook out there. Everybody's still pretty darn close to each other.
Yeah, usually you see those pit stops completely break the field up, but hasn't really been the case thus far, and we still have a click under 11 minutes left to go, as that's Sabino running very wide, coming through turn 14 and 15, kicking up a lot of dirt and gravel, running wide yet again on the exit at turn 15. Things have not gone well as of recent for Joao Sabino, side by side with Elias Pleva and Kane Lasky. That gap is growing between P4 and P5. It's now teetering around 2 seconds. And I think Kane Lasky, so he's back in. So he hit 88 miles an hour for a brief second, sent himself back into the Neolithic period, but he finds himself back out here on the racetrack, running in sixth as it stands currently. But one point that I was going to raise about all of this is, as much as we had him eyeballed as a driver who may be able to win this race, and again, we still have about 10 minutes left to go, anything can happen between now and the checkered flag. I think the chances of Elias Pleva going back-to-back in these Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors races at Spa are a little bit lower than they once were.
Yeah, definitely here. Unless him and Lasky start playing ball, Lasky maybe pushes him down this straight here, could fix all of that problem for him. But we shall see. There is another driver in that group who doesn't seem really to want to play ball there. He just wants the position, and you know that's what's going to happen sometimes. Is you can't move forward unless everybody wants to move forward with you. And you know, we could see by the end of the straightaway here that things are a little bit caught up if Lasky decides to push Pleva down the straight. And if maybe we have a bit of a fight here into this corner, you know, everything can change. He's not that far behind. But yeah, I think you're right, Ron. The percentage definitely just came down a little bit, as it looks like Lasky's, you know, trying to kind of set up a push there, but I don't think he did. So it's a little bit perplexing, to be honest, to me, that they won't. And there he goes. And that's going to end that for us. So commentator's curse. Shouldn't have talked about Pleva so much. He got away with that spin. Doesn't look like he's got any damage, but man, that's going to pretty much end it for a race win today.
Yeah, quick 360 for Pleva. He's not going to be very happy about that turn of events at all. Is a driver, the number 46 entry. May need to load up a replay to see exactly what went wrong there. It looked like 3 drivers fighting for the same piece of real estate out there on the track, and a glorified round of bumper cars as they headed their way through that part of the racetrack. It's worked out terribly for Pleva. Now finds himself in 7th with a snowball chance in hell of grabbing the race win in the final 10 minutes here. As we take a look at that replay, there's Sabino getting that move done on the outside. He got Kane Lasky giving Pleva the bump, and yeah, side to side contact. I think Tabino could have left a bit more space on the inside. Pleva, I mean, he made it his own on the inside line. He made it clear that he was there. Tabino really didn't respect that and cut across Pleva. That's a tough moment for Elias Pleva. Not going to go back-to-back for wins at this racetrack, but he certainly gave it the old college try.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, you know, that's kind of iRacing silliness there, that if you just happen to be the car on the inside, you basically get baby bird physics, and you have, you know, baby deer legs, and you just collapse when somebody taps you, which is kind of ridiculous. You know, it's usually the outside car that always wins those scenarios, and we saw it, you know, on full display right there, the tiniest little tap on Pleva on the inside, and the car just turns into paper. But unfortunately, that's gonna end his there. You're right. I think he probably could have left a little bit more room, but you know, that's the way it's going to work. Again, sort of perplexing why they aren't working together to try to get to the front here. But, you know, sometimes, you know, you have a driver there who just wants that position, and that's perfectly fine. I've been in that position, actually, where I know that the person in front wants to catch that lead group, and I'm like, you know what? I'm an S2. I want the position in front of you, and I don't really care if you want to catch those guys in front of you. I'm just going to kind of play hardball with you. And sometimes that's the way it works out. You know, it might not be the nicest thing. You're going to frustrate some people, but you know, we're out there racing, and you want a position. If you're a race car driver, you want that position in front. It's not always the fastest way to try to get at every corner, as we see Andrew Love getting a little squirrely there coming out of the final corner.
Andrew Love currently running 14th as it stands at the present moment. 4th place of the drivers in the Spec 2 category. And to anyone who hasn't tuned into these Weekend Warriors broadcasts before, firstly, welcome in here to SMB. We hope you enjoy today's broadcast. And secondly, these drivers are scored based off their overall finishing position. So as much as class wins and class honors are certainly good, if you're a Spec 1, Spec 2, or Masters drivers, a P3 result is going to net you the same amount of points. As more drama has gone on involving Joao Tabino. This time it's with Kane Lasky heading off through the exact same section of the racetrack. More gravel getting strung across the circuit through that Lake Coleman Malmedy section. And let's see what exactly went wrong here. You can see Pleva, he got bumped out of all of this. 1 lap ago. Tabino loses it entirely, and Lasky with nowhere to go.
Yeah, pretty much just lost it on his own. You can, wow, as Pleva threads the needle there through the debris and some of the chaos in front of him and actually comes out ahead. So he's actually gotten back to where he was there after that little incident. And yeah, you know, again, I think we're seeing the gravel and stuff kind of rearing its head there, Ron. It looks like, you know, some dirty tires probably cooled them down a little bit. Maybe some even gravel under the tires in that corner. It was spread everywhere, all over that corner, and I think that's probably what caught him out. So that particle system is definitely rearing its head. We can see it kind of on the edge of the track everywhere there's gravel now.
The gravel is everywhere. It's so stoned, in fact, that we're off the air. About 5 minutes left to go in this race here today. Felix Samoa's got to enter the final 5 minutes. Not in the race lead is Nazelli, proving me wrong and playing me like a damn fiddle. Heading down into Blanchimont, going to get that move done to jump his way up into the race lead. Rasmus Fury involved in all this. He's up 10 spots from where he started in this race. And you know, as much as I rarely, if ever, make predictions on these broadcasts that turn out to be correct, doesn't matter if it's here on SMB with some other broadcasters or even on some of the iRacing special event shows, my predictions usually age like milk. But I said earlier on that Rasmus Fiori, after going from P7 to P1 in that Formula Ford race earlier on today, in the Spec Racer Ford starting in P13, it wasn't out of the realm of possibilities that he was going to be able to grab the race win. Now, he's not at the front yet. Still finds himself in third, involved in that battle, though. So we may find ourselves in the very incredibly rarer than a Stradivarius position that one of my predictions actually turns out to be correct.
Yeah, and on top of that, a double win. Like, you know what? Am I allowed to change my prediction now? Because I'd like to change it to the number 24, if I can, please. I have a feeling that he is on point today, man. He took the race, or he took the win in the first one. Let's check a quick replay here. Let's see what happened. We got Chris Murakami. We got Andrew Love on the inside. This is going to probably end in some contact. You get a little tap there from the 113. And not exactly sure what's going on there. So it looks like, you know, somebody tried to go into the pit, sort of railroaded the other guy into the pit with them almost. And the car with the caution geese on the back there kind of getting goosed.
Oh, no, not touching that one. But as we do, boy howdy, we like to have a good time here at Slow Motion Broadcasting. I was going to say the last time I had a bad experience with a goose, I got chased up onto a park bench. But here's a bad experience for Joao Tabino. He's picked up a black flag along with Daniel Case. So drivers picking up DQs, well, not DQs, but picking up penalties for incidents. You get a drive-through penalty in these races at every 13 incident points. Well, I say every 13, at 13x to be more precise. Then when you hit 18, you get disqualified. So no drivers hit that threshold yet. However, a few drivers have hit the threshold whereby they will be spending a decent amount of time down in pit lane to not service their cars, but maybe give a slight hand gesture to race control as they pass them by. But with all that squared away, we're getting into crunch time here in this race. They are going to be taking 2 to go this time. Actually, no, I don't believe they are going to be taking 2 to go. They're going to be coming to the white this time, I believe, with how long these laps are here at Spa.
Yeah, you might be right.
2.5 laps, 2.5 minutes long, and with a tick under 2 minutes on the clock when they come to line in a couple of moments' time. Nazelli, he's going to be taking the white. The real question is, though, will he take the checkered at the same spot?
Yeah, that is a gigantic question mark, no doubt, whether or not he will still be in the front here. You know, it's one of those things, if you play your cards right, play a little bit of chess out there, you kind of let them by you and then hope you get them back at the end. Risky move, but it's kind of maybe the only way you can win this one. If you're out front trying to hold out front the whole time, probably not going to happen here. You're kind of going to get caught coming up here, and then you might have another chance to catch everybody back by the end of the lap. But it looks like he's going to try to break away here as best he can in the 44 car, see if he can't pull away from Felix Samoas and Viori. Right now, I would say Jason Green and Viori probably have the best seat in the house for this win, but man, you just never know on a track like this with cars that draft like this and drivers that are so good.
This is going to be some fun at the end of this race. Very happy, though, that we're in the commentary booth and not behind the wheel of these race cars for the simple sake that our blood pressure is a heck of a lot lower than it probably is for these races. Our heart rate is certainly lower, too. These drivers, they're going to be in a pressure cooker situation to end all pressure cooker situations to try and grab the win in the third race of this championship. Jason Green and Felix Samoas battled tooth and nail last season to try and win the championship. Felix Samoas, of course, your reigning champion here in the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors, and is also your reigning race winner after grabbing a checkered flag at Magny-Cours 1 week ago. But flashing back to that race at Magny-Cours 1 week ago, it was a double. He won in the Formula Fords. He won in the Spec Racer Fords. Will Rasmus Fiori be able to do it? He's well farther back, though, so I'm not sure if he's going to be in the conversation to try and grab the race win at the end of it here at Spa. So I think it's fair to say that's a three-car battle heading down into Fagnes of turn number 12 and 13 for the final time in this race, the 15th time in all. And for these drivers, it's a most important run through some of these corners. It may not seem like much, but a couple of spots at the end of a season and a series as close as this can make a huge difference when it comes to that championship. How's it going to work for Nazelli? He's going to be punching that hole in the air. Samoas and Green, they're going to be enjoying the draft. I have a feeling that it's going to be decided with the run coming through the chicane, not even into it, but coming through it. 3 wide, look at that. Samoas running off into the dirt. Nazelli blocking him off a little bit. That was not going to work for Felix Samoas. Jason Green on the outside. Nazelli, that's heading off through Blanchimont. That's some real close quarter stuff. Green running off into the curb. He's got that inside line, though, heading off into the chicane. He wants to clear Nazelli, though. Otherwise, it may result in a little bit of contact. Jason Green had a really tough go of things in this race 1 season ago. Will he be able to grab the checkered flag this time? Gets a little bit of a bump. It's going to be a side-by-side finish right to the line. Jason Green going to grab the checkered flag. Nazelli finishes in P2. Samoas rounding out your podium in third. Jason Green, though, gets a move done to grab his first win of the season.
Yeah, that was a great move. Some great chess playing there from everybody, and mostly from Jason Green. There was able to do it. I thought maybe he was going to lose it there in the chicane at the end. He pushed a little bit wide, but I think that might have actually been a strategy for him there. Just open the corner up a little bit so you could get that inside line. But maybe we'll have a chance to ask him there. It looked like he almost kind of pushed a bit long into the final corner there, as we're seeing a few more people cross the line here. The 113, I believe, of Dan Witzak there. We got Jorg Manny taking the win in Masters, and Eric Luke, today's sponsor, taking the win in Spec 2. Pretty awesome stuff, man.
And we got a lot of side-by-side finishes right to the line. Elias Plave and Kane Lasky recovered by about 34 thousandths of a second. Eric Luke and Joao Tabino were only covered by 38 thousandths of a second. It was a side-by-side fight involving Favini and Murakami. 2 thousandths being the difference between these two. And based off our live timing software, which is very great, and providing all the graphics that we've got here on slow motion broadcasting, it can occasionally mess with the numbers ever so slightly. So I will look through and try and see if there was actually a swap-a-roo between those two. Yeah, Chris Murakami actually finished in 13th, and Andre Favini was classed in P14 at the end of all of that. It was still incredibly close between those two. Once you get close in terms of those margins, you can occasionally swap around a little bit, but it was actually Chris Murakami finishing in P13, waiting for a few more drivers to cross the line in the form of Adam Bradshaw and Daniel Case. Scott Russell, Fozzie Fazillo, Daniel Salmon, and Russell Telker were some of the only retirements from this race, and the list continued on with the likes of Stevie Ray, Phil Berry, Joachim Osbeck, Michael Nelson, Dominico Massey, and Neil McDougall. Should be noted that Massey and McDougall did not take the start of this race. So 45 starters and tick over 35 finishers, 37 to be a bit more precise. But Josh, that was a barn burner from start to finish. Holy cow.
Yeah, it absolutely was, Ron, for sure. It was an awesome Spec Racer Ford race, as we're used to with these things, and around Spa as well. Always going to race pretty good here as we see them bashing the cars into pieces, as we love to see at the end of these races. Every time. But yeah, back to the racing itself there. Pretty awesome racing. Everybody stayed fairly clean too. We did have some people, kind of losing out. Oh my
Christ.
God.
Holy
Russell Telker
cow.
spinning like a top there, or some sort of like a frisbee, actually, more like it. Oh my goodness, there's the physics on the number 42 there just looking like somebody's flipping him and flipping him and flipping him over like a card, like a playing card or something.
Oh, here we go.
Ooh.
Who's that coming in for the kill? Oh, there they go. It's like a game of pool right here. The runoff area coming out of Arush and Radion is a pool table for these Spec Racer 4 drivers. That was Adam Bradshaw that we saw in the green, white, and orange car coming in for the kill. And I'm not sure who that was that came in for the kill a couple of moments ago. But you can see a scrap heap of race cars at the end of it all here. These drivers like to blow off steam, and in blowing off some steam, they also like to turn the fiberglass on their race cars into basically small little strands left to be picked up by the track marshals here. Oh my good lord.
That's one of the better ones we've seen.
This is beautiful.
Absolutely. Our producer there just commenting that maybe some Discovery Channel things happening out there. It's looking a little bit wild. This might be one of the best Spec Racer Force burn downs I've seen yet. I mean, we've seen people taking massive airs and stuff, but I'm not sure I've really seen so many drivers smashing into each other quite so much. I don't even know how he's still moving right there, how that's happening. It looks like his wheels are all dangling off the car, but I think we should probably get to some results here, or at least maybe do we have anybody in the waiting room here? What would you like to do there, Ron? We can do results, we can do waiting room, up to you.
I think we're going to move on to have a chat with some of these drivers at the end of all of it. And I think the first driver that we will have a chat with is probably going to be our sponsor for today's broadcast here of the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors. And that's going to be Eric Luke, who is now joining us in the commentary booth, not only making today's broadcast possible here on SMB, but also walking away with a win in Spec 2. So, Eric, welcome into the booth and congratulations on the win. Talk us through it, man.
Thank you, gentlemen. How y'all doing today?
We were doing pretty all right. I think I blew my vocal cords out with some of the close moments out there on the track, but doing good.
Yeah. So kind of a boring race for me. I anticipated the braking a little too much going into turn one after the first hot lap, and lost the draft. So I just kind of grinded laps out until the end of the race.
I gotta say though, honestly, with how these spa races usually go with the Spec Racer Fords, you may have had them like first ever peaceful running of one of these races. It's usually just absolute pandemonium going around all throughout this racetrack. So the fact that you're like, yeah, it was a rather boring race is a little bit surprising. But I want to ask you about your thoughts on this combination with these Spec Racer Fords around here.
Yeah. So it is really fun. Watching the guys battle in front of me and not being able to be a part of that kind of brought a tear to my eye. But without the draft, in practice, I was running about high 40s, and in draft, I was running mid to low 40s. So that was kind of my expectations going into the race. Is that's the kind of pace that I would be able to produce. And I could do that without white knuckling the car and without trying to push too hard. And race time comes, and I got a little bit out of sync, and I couldn't keep in touch with the cars in front. So just being able to keep the guys in front of me that are bump drafting and pushing each other was kind of we'll call it a personal achievement, considering the level of talent that's in this room. But as far as the track car combination, it is a lot of fun, and it is a lot of fun when you're racing around guys that you can race wheel to wheel and door to door with, and not hopefully worry about anybody doing anything crazy.
And as we mentioned a lot throughout this broadcast, you are the sponsor of today's broadcast, and some of the other ones coming up here for the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors through your supports with Cloud Valve Company. So I want to give you the floor to say what you want to say.
Big thanks to Cloud Valve Company for allowing me to do this. We as Cloud Valve Manufacturing, we provide life-sustaining water products through excellence in service and manufacturing through fire hydrants and gate valves. So you see our products all across the country, and you probably don't even know the brands. But so a big shout out to them, a big shout out to you guys, SMB Broadcasting, for doing these events with us, and we appreciate everything you guys do.
And we appreciate your support making this broadcast possible. I was just going to say if there's anybody you want to give a thanks to or shout out, but already one step ahead of me there, Eric. So I'll ask you about the next round of the championship, Long Beach. That is going to be as much of a 9-day difference in terms of 1 week to another as you could possibly get.
Long Beach is significantly more technical than I would say Spa is. In my opinion anyway. There's just something abnormal about pointing the nose of your car at a wall and then accelerating, because that's pretty much every corner at Long Beach. So it kind of goes against natural instincts, but it is a fun track to battle. It is very tight and very technical, and it can produce significantly more chaos than what Spa does.
Yeah, I have a feeling that race at Long Beach in 1 week's time is going to be a shiitake mushroom show, for a little bit of broadcast-friendly terminology. But Eric, thank you for joining us here in the commentary booth. Thank you for making today's broadcast here of the Spec Racer 40 Weekend Warriors possible, along with some of the other broadcasts coming up here over the next few weeks. And well done on the Spec 2 win today.
Thank you, sir. You gentlemen have a good day.
You as well. That right there was Eric Luke, your winner at the end of this Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors race here at Spa. His second win in a row in the process, so well done to him. And Josh, I'll let you take dibs on who you want to have a chat with.
Yeah, let's get Jason Green in here. Let's talk to the winner if I could. Jason Green, what a great race out there today. It's kind of funny because I switched my pick as to who was going to win 3 times during the race. I actually voted for you. Then I picked Pleva, and then I was like, you know what? I want to change it now. But you ended up getting it, and it was pretty great. You know, I had a question into the last chicane there. Was that sort of an intentional move to sort of go a little bit deep into it, or was that just a bit of an understeer moment and kind of almost lost her?
Yeah, that was not my intention at all. In the in kind of the adrenaline rush, I did end up braking at the right point, but when I started braking, I was like, this doesn't feel right. So I lift all the brakes just a little bit, and then I realized, oh no, there's no way I'm leaving enough room for Maurizio on the outside here. Fortunately, he saw that I was doing that because he's a great driver. So we managed to get through there clean. Was surprised. I had to go down to first gear to make the second part of it. Was surprised that I was able to actually stay ahead of him out of there. Tried to leave him room in case he had a run. But yeah, managed to hang on to the win. Definitely didn't expect that to happen. Maurizio and Felix were definitely way faster. Just staying in the draft, and got a lucky win there.
Yeah, for sure. It did look like definitely, he saw it sort of coming there, and he played ball with you a little bit. I was a little bit surprised that you're able to drag race him after that, but I think, in reaction to you, he went a little bit wide, lost some track position as well as some momentum, and you were able to kind of pull it out there. But, another question I had is, in the last 2 races here, we've been seeing a lot of grip loss spins, especially in the FF race. There was a ton of grip loss, and I'm wondering, it looked to me like it's a little bit of maybe asking a little bit much of the car in a strange position, especially at Brands Hatch. It's got some kind of odd radius corners, but also it looks like that particle system is really starting to rear its head out there on certain tracks. Are you feeling that underneath you? Is that particle system becoming an issue, or is it just still noise and stuff in your face?
So for Brands Hatch, it was way better than previous seasons there. After they introduced the gravel on the track, it didn't turn into the Druids didn't turn into just a complete gravel trap on the track. So that was way better. You do have to watch out for it. It's there, but same with here actually. Last season, the last time we were here at Spa, the exit of Stavolo was very tricky because there was basically like a dry line almost, and then outside of that dry line was gravel. So if you just put one tire out there, the car would try to loop on you. Didn't really see any of that today. So it was it was actually pretty grippy, the track out there. Wasn't too much gravel or issue with that. So yeah, it might just be the updated tire physics for the SRF, especially on cold tires. It's very tricky until they get up to temperature.
Yeah, we were mentioning that as well. I think we saw Stevie Ray have kind of an early spin on lap 3 because of some cold tires, and I've experienced that in here as well. It anywhere from, I don't know, 3 to 5 laps really to get them heated up, it seems to be, depending on the track, of course. But same thing with the FF. I believe we got a bit of a suspension update there as well. Things are a little bit different, but great win today, Jason. It was awesome. You're kind of back and forth, ended up coming out with the win. Is there anybody you'd like to thank?
Thanks as always to Stevie for putting these all together and being the guiding force of reason. Guiding force of wisdom for all of our leagues. So yeah, shout out to Stevie as always. Shout out to y'all for doing the broadcast. Always do an amazing job. Always fun to watch back. And shout out to everybody that showed up today. It was we had a great field for all 3 leagues this weekend. So yeah, like Stevie says, it wouldn't be anything without everybody showing up. So yeah.
Awesome. Right on, man. Yeah, we had an amazing turnout today. Great win, Jason. And we'll see you at Long Beach next week.
Oh boy, can't wait.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one.
And that right there was Jason Green, who I can tell in that, oh boy, can't wait, is probably a little bit terrified for the next race of the championship at Long Beach. And hey,
we all are.
Can't necessarily blame him. I think that's 2 for 2 in terms of drivers we've had a chat with that are not necessarily unafraid heading into Long Beach in 1 week's time. So let's see if we can go 3 for 3. Have a quick little chat with our Masters winner at the end of this race, Jorg Monty. Jorg, welcome into the commentary booth. Well done on the Masters win. Happy to talk us through this race here at Spa.
Do you really would like to talk through it? Actually,
give us a summary.
Yeah, okay. It was kind of okay race, I think. The start was horrifying for me. I don't know. Every time it's happening, I'm cautious and nobody else is cautious around me. So I really was just in surviving mode the first lap. I actually did. Then, okay, I came into rhythm a little bit better, catching up some positions. And yeah, I think I had a decent pit stop. And then the end, it was quite a nice fight with 8. And it was nice, yeah. It was a better ending than in the Formula 4 before, yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, I think we're going to we're just hearing an audio clip from our producer, Mr. Marzucchi, in the production truck. Here comes the money. I'm not even sure what to say to that. It's just boom ba. But Jorg, that was still a pretty good day in the office for you. Your first win here in the Spec Racer Fords. Not the best start to the season for you in the first 2 races. weren't really there for one of the races, if my memory serves me correctly. But hitting the ground running here for round number 3. So we've got a different challenge, shall we say, Long Beach in 1 week's time. We were joking before we dragged you in that we may go 3 for 3 in terms of drivers who are rather terrified heading into the latest round of this championship. So Long Beach in 1 week's time, what are your thoughts heading into it?
It's gonna be funny there, I think. Not horrifying. I think it's gonna be funny there. But I changed jobs, so the new job in my private life sucks up all the time at the moment for me, and I might not be there again. So yeah, let's see. I'm trying to, but I can't promise that I'm gonna be there. But I would race there, I think, and I had decent races there as well as bad races. But I think I'm looking forward to those kind of races.
Yeah, and still got a fantastic slate of races to look forward to here from the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors season, along with the rest of the Weekend Warriors. And fingers crossed, we'll see you out there on the racetrack as often as we can. But Jorg, thank you for joining us in the commentary booth, and congratulations on the win. Before we let you go and celebrate, though, you know the drill by now. Anybody you want to give a thanks to or shout out?
To Guido this time. He's doing an awesome job as an Italian and producing, the broadcast. So, congrats, Guido.
He says thank you.
Yeah, there's a nice little thank you there from Guido to Jorg.
I've heard it.
Yeah, there we go. Alrighty, well, Jorg, thank you for joining us in the commentary booth. Well done on the win here at Spa, and excited to see you back out on the track wherever it is in the not-too-distant future. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks a lot, guys, and good night.
You as well. That right there was Jorgmani, your winner at the end of this race here at Spa. And with all that squared away, let's take a look at the results at the end of this third race of the championship here for the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors. Jason Green grabs the checkered flag, your winner at the end of it all. 1.5 tenths of a second is a gap between himself and Maurizio Nazelli. Felix Samoa is going to round at your overall podium in third. Rasmus Vori still put on a very good drive, ends up finishing this race in fourth. Elias Pleva rounds out your top 5. Kane Lasky in 6th. Eric Luke, your Spec 2 winner, finishes in 7th. We have Jorgmani finishing in 8th, Aid Allen in 9th, and Matt Thompson rounding out your top 10.
Yeah, and then from there, rest of the field here, we have Adam Thompson in 11th. Chris Mirakami back. I haven't seen him in a little while here in 12th, doing pretty well there, getting second place in Masters. Andre Favini in 13th. Dan Witschek in 14th. In 15th, we have Leonard Geese. Kurt Nunez in 16th. Trenton Kramer in 17th, Joao Tabino in 18th, Jason Perry in 19th, Andrew Love in 20th, Paul Jackson 21st, Jeff Fritcher 22nd, Jim Brewster 23rd, Brad Cathcart 24th. In 25th, we have Claudio Gardini, Mario Krusmer in, it moved on me there, I lost my on 26th, Josh Flores in 27th, Parvinder Lajar in 28th, Fabio Andalo in 29th, Pablo Brem, I believe, had some issues today there in 30th, Jeff Wubker in 31st, Tom Gradwell in 32nd, Michelle Viglini in 33rd, Adam Bradshaw in 34th, 35th is Joseph Tarantino in 36th, Daniel Case in 37th, Ian Gibson in 38th. We have Scott Russell, Daniel Salmon in 39th, Fozzie Fazillo, best name in the Weekend Warriors so far, in 40th place. 41st place, Russell Telker, Stevie Ray in 42nd, unfortunately getting some grip loss early in the race there and punching the wall. Johan Asbeck in 43rd. 44th is Michelle Nelson. 45th is Philip Berry. 46th is Domenico Massi. And in 47th, we have Neil McDougall.
And that is going to round out your results at the end of this third race of the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors. Hope you all enjoyed Super Sunday coverage here on SMB today. It's not even over. We got XSLR running later on this evening, if I am not mistaken. But we got a lot of stuff coming up here on Slow Motion Broadcasting and rapidly approaching upon that 1,000 subscriber mark. In fact, as it stands currently with me wrapping up this show, we are only 4 away. If we try our hardest, we may be able to break that by the end of today here on Sunday, April 6th. Okay. So that would be an absolutely awesome gift from all of you to us here at Slow Motion Broadcasting, and from us here at SMB to all of you. Thank you so much for the continued and genuine support for us week in and week out, and everything that we do here at Slow Motion Broadcasting. We like to have a good time, and we certainly had a good time here today, but I think the good times are just about at a conclusion for this broadcast. So for myself, Ron Maunz, Josh Wilkie joining me in the commentary booth, and Guido Marzucchi working on the cameras in the virtual production hauler, I say thank you all so very much for watching this broadcast here on Slow Motion Broadcasting today, and we hope to see you all wherever it is, not too distant future.